All right, plenty of attention over the past few weeks for the drama surrounding late-night programming at NBC. Joining us now is Jeff Zucker, President and CEO of NBC Universal, the parent company of this network. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good morning, Joe.
Boss.
Morning, Carl.
So in the papers today, more conjecture about where the company is with Mr. O'Brien on the deal to allow him to leave. Is it done?
Well, it's not done at this point. I do expect that it'll be completed shortly, and I think that we'll come to resolution on that in the next day or so. So I think we're very close on that, and I think you know, obviously it's been an unfortunate couple of days in terms of what's happened, but I think it'll be good for everybody to get on with where everybody's going.
The deal that's been outlined in the media, everybody's got the same numbers. That's the way you see it playing out. $40 million, he can go somewhere in September.
I'm not going to comment on the terms of the deals. I think that's not appropriate. But I would just say that we've made a business decision that I think is in the best interests of NBC Universal and NBC. And we made that decision vis-a-vis Jay, and we made that decision vis-a-vis Conan. And obviously, I think it's in the long term going to be best for the company.
You said, I think in your interview with Charlie Rose, nothing tried, nothing gained. Sounds like you would do this again if you had to.
Well,
at least the initial stages of it. Trying Jay at 10.
Well, look, I mean, I do think that hindsight is perfect, obviously, sure. And so, you know, with perfect information, you do things a little differently. I think what we've said and what we tried to do and what I tried to do was step up and say that the world isn't perfect in broadcast television and that there are issues with it. We had this opportunity with Jay available to us. We wanted to keep him from going across the street to a competitor where we think he would have done even more damage to Conan on The Tonight Show, and at the same time begin to think about network television a little differently. In hindsight, though, obviously this wasn't exactly what the viewers wanted, and so I don't know that we would have done this exactly, but I do think that taking a risk and trying something new is something that we should always be willing to do.
It is kind of like whack-a-mole, though. You know, the numbers weren't any worse than what you anticipated at 10, but all of a sudden this other thing came up, other mole with the affiliates, right?
Yeah, look, I think that we actually were able to accurately predict how Jay would perform on the network. He actually did exactly what we expected he would. I think we underestimated the impact that it would have on the NBC affiliates for their 11 o'clock news. We obviously looked at that. We thought we had it nailed, but obviously we underestimated it. It didn't do exactly what we thought, and so obviously that became a big issue for the affiliates.
Ebersol, obviously in some comments, said that it's a specious argument that the lead-in to Conan was what caused that loss of 50% of the viewers. Is that your viewpoint as well? Would Leno, even with a weaker lead-in, have maintained his lead over Letterman?
Well, you have to remember that for many years, obviously, CBS had a much stronger prime time than NBC, and Jay Leno was still able to win at 11:35. Even before Jay went on in September, unfortunately, Conan was struggling during the summer with The Tonight Show at 11:35. So, you know, obviously, lead-ins can be interpreted in different ways, but we think that we have to remember that Conan was on here for 8 months, 5 nights a week. We had a lot of time to get a lot of information on his performance. And so at the end of the day, we thought moving the show back to 12:05, which is what we asked Conan to do in this era where most people are watching those programs online or through different means anyway, we thought that it wouldn't have we thought actually it would be beneficial to Conan. We thought he would have a stronger lead-in with Jay. We thought that he would be able to do the show that he was more comfortable with. In the end, obviously, it's something that he decided he couldn't get his head around, and that certainly is his choice.
All right.
Becky's got a question from Omaha. Beck?
Hey, Jeff, thanks for coming in today. You know, you mentioned that it's worth taking risks and trying new things, but what happens now at 10 o'clock? Do you go back to the tried and true? Is it dramas play best there? Is it reality show? Now what?
Well, Jeff Gaspin, who has responsibility for NBC Entertainment, has announced a new schedule that actually combines a little of both. He's going to have a couple of dramas, a reality show, a news magazine. So I think he's going to try everything, and I think that's the right mix that you'll see from us going forward. I don't think we're in an era where it'll be 5 one-hour dramas at 10 o'clock, but I think there's a mix, and I think that's the right kind of thinking.
Has the ship sailed still, in your view, on a network debuting just so much content, so much new creative content? Can we afford to be the NBC of 10 years ago, or does it have to be run from a cost perspective? Does it have to be run with reality?
Well, I think good management dictates that you keep cost in mind, but I don't think that we can just have that as the only thing we're looking at. Obviously, there are other factors. Did I lose my mic?
You
here?
did.
Yeah. Excuse me.
That's okay, though.
That's
there we go.
a mic clip.
There we go. Exactly. Obviously, I think
Cost control.
Yeah, exactly.
Crummy mic clip.
No, look. Obviously, I think you have to look at everything. Good management dictates that. We're in a different era than we were 10 years ago. The digital technology has changed the entire landscape, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that people don't watch television in the same way that they did 10 years ago. Having said that, having good programs is what works in the end. And we need better programs at NBC Entertainment. And so we can talk about cost and we can talk about doing a better job with that, and we have to because that's what good management requires. But at the same time, it also requires having better shows, and we have to do that.
You know better than anyone how obsessed the country has been with this story for the past 7 months, really. Does it say something about the nature of broadcast? Does it reaffirm its relative strength? Does it do anything to the notion that it's dying?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's a great observation, which is that if people didn't care about NBC and they didn't care about The Tonight Show, then there wouldn't be as much interest in this. NBC, The Tonight Show, these are cultural touchstones of the country. They play a huge role in our lives. And so I think that's a great thing for NBC. That's why people care. You know, I've been here before so many times. I've talked about the fact that NBC is just 10% of NBC Universal's bottom line, that NBC Entertainment is 5% of NBC Universal's bottom line. From a financial standpoint, I think that we've done an excellent job in making sure that the company is on sound footing with our cable portfolio, things like CNBC. But on the other hand, people love NBC and they care about NBC. And so we could say that it's only 5% of our bottom line and 95% of our perception, but that perception matters, and so we need to step up and acknowledge that. And I think that's the good news here for broadcasting, is that people still do care,
right,
even if they don't watch it in the same way they used to.
So Jay comes back. Obviously, there's going to be huge ratings when he comes back. Do you force?
Let's not
the first
oversell
night.
at this
The
point.
first night. All right, but what I'm saying is, does he then go right back to the numbers start beating Letterman again? We know how weird it is. You can have Hugh Grant on, and that's, you know, it lasts for 6 years, or you can sleep with an intern, and suddenly your numbers go up. I mean, do you expect Jay to immediately?
I don't think we're going to make any predictions at this point about what's going to happen. Obviously, we've made the decision that we think that Jay will be broader and attract a broader audience at 11:35 than we were, and I think that's all. I think that's all we're comfortable saying right now.
Is there any truth to the notion that NBC tried to get Conan to broaden his appeal, and he resisted?
Look, obviously, we want as broad an audience for the Tonight Show. We want as broad an audience every hour that we're on. Obviously, we would have liked more people to have watched Conan. Certainly, there were conversations with them about that. At the end of the day, I think people have to do the show they're comfortable with, and if that's not as broad as we need, then that leads us to make a decision that we have to make.
You don't fear Conan at Fox versus Jay?
It's not that we don't fear people or things like that.
But at this point, you probably have a pretty good idea of what your competition is capable of.
Well, obviously, look, we have a long track record now of knowing how that show has performed, and we just obviously have made the decision that we think Jay will be broader and attract more people at 11:35.